Welcome to another episode of Sippin' Saints. As you can hear from the thunderous applause, we are here with a live studio audience. Just kidding. That's a special effect from our producer, Esteban, who may be piping in a little bit today. So you might hear his voice for the first time on the podcast. I'm Zach. I'm here with Lauren. We have kind of a smaller crew today, but we're talking about a really interesting topic. We're talking about holiday season, which is a mixed bag. Esto, do you want to introduce yourself real quick? Anything you would like to say to the audience?
Yes. So my name is Esteban. I am the video producer here at New Life Community Church. For reasons I cannot say, or I can't say, I can't run up to the camera because I have to man the whole podcasting, but I'll be joining in the conversation. Glad to be here.
So Esteban is multitasking.
He's equipped for it though.
Multitasking, emphasis on the king.
We're testing his skills.
You like that? I thought that was clever. Okay, we're talking about holiday season today, which honestly, holiday season is a mixed bag of all kinds of things. So we don't know where this conversation is exactly going to go, but we feel like it's an important thing to talk about in this time because it can be such a mixed bag. It could be filled with positive emotions and experiences, but there can also be a strange mixture of negative or more difficult experiences and emotions. So how do we stay sane? How do we navigate? How do we survive? How do we stay close to the heart of God in the midst of holiday season? I want to start with this question. We're recording this in November. It's earlier November. And so, Lauren, I want to ask you, Esto, and ask you, at what point is it okay morally to decorate for Christmas and to start listening to Christmas music? What do you do?
I feel like those are two different things, you know? I feel like decorating with Christmas things, it's more intense. That's a different level for me, but I feel like listening to music, I'm one of those people, I listen to it right after Halloween. I listened to it on Halloween because there was that huge snowfall that happened. So that's just me, though. I got a lot of hate for it, but I'm one of those people, I guess.
Yeah. See, this is what happens though. People decorate for Halloween, and then Thanksgiving is non-existent. But once Halloween is done, fall is done, and then people just chuck up Christmas. And I think that we need to wait till at least the end of November, and then December to mid-January is like Christmas. And I don't start listening to Christmas music until after Thanksgiving. Like the day after, I'm like, you hear the bells? Are they ringing? And then you play the music. But other than that, I don't think we should do it before. Then you don't fully embrace fall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do agree with that. I feel like too oftentimes, like Starbucks, they all together just skip. They
were like, sorry, we don't have no pumpkin nothing anymore. It's only nutmeg from here on out.
My theory with that is that they want the pumpkin spice latte to continue to be a hot commodity. And so if you make it only available for a very short time, that increases the hype so people don't get tired of it. So next year they're like, oh, it's back. I couldn't get enough of it last year.
So it's a monopoly, you would say.
Capitalism.
What about you, Zach?
I am definitely one who... my wife and I, we decorate after Thanksgiving. We decorate the day after Thanksgiving or that weekend. And our reasoning behind it is, no hate for those who do decorate for Christmas early November. I might struggle to love you at times if you're singing Mariah Carey, but I think the important thing for us is that we allow each season to be its season, kind of how you were saying, Lauren. Like, we don't want to miss out on what fall has to give us, on what fall has to teach us.
Yeah.
And Christmas is all about, snow. I mean, in Chicago, it's all about snowy days and different things like that. And there's a rush to kind of the, the idea of getting things with Christmas. And even with Thanksgiving, there's a struggle there, right? Because right after Thanksgiving, we're talking about being thankful. We're talking about being grateful to be with family or whatever has been happening in the year. And then the next day we say, all right, here's the day you've been saving all your money for. Spend as much as you can on these discounted items. And
which is ironic.
it's super ironic because on the day you're saying I'm grateful for what I have or what has happened.
But now I'm going to stay until 2 a.m. waiting for that new thing.
I'm going to put to limits my humanity in order to get new things. You know, like you see those people just like storming into stores and like trampling over each other. And,
Although I feel like that's changed though the past like 4 or 5 years, because now Black Friday starts sometimes even after Halloween.
yeah, that's a good point. Actually, that is a good point.
It's like a week out or something. Like Walmart was doing that, or they started it like a few weeks out already. Like they already have the sales online.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the other day, I think like 2 days ago, I got an email and it was just like Black Friday deals. And I'm like, is there another Black Friday that I don't know about? Like what? Yeah, people are going for it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And you know, my statement is also a little. You got to make the point that most shopping happens online now as well. So there's not as much of the trampling.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe we should still question like we're doing that, you know, online, disconnected from each other as we do this kind of thing in a time where we're celebrating connection. So I just think it's like interesting. Anyways, sorry, we got really deep. We were talking about decorations, but I think it's connected to that. For my wife and I, it's just like how do we help ourselves to be present in the moment when our culture and our society is pushing us towards something that's in the future and trying to kind of blur the lines between these seasons and rhythms. So we just feel like it helps us to have more of a rhythm to our year and to our celebration.
So how do you and your wife sort of stay within the present? When I feel like especially between like Halloween and the New Year, it's like it's back to back. So you feel like you're always going or you're like always moving to the next thing. It's really hard to like stop and kind of enjoy Thanksgiving Day without thinking like, oh, tomorrow or the next day or, you know, 4 days from now, it's going to be Christmas shopping and we have to decorate. And how do you just stay present on the day? And then like, how do you do that personally?
Yeah. I think part of it is definitely like staying connected to the heart of this celebration, this like rhythm. So Thanksgiving, like we said, it's about being grateful, being thankful for, you know, what God has placed in our lives and what God has done, or what God has like brought us through that we didn't think we were going to get through, or whatever, things like that. The difficult growth that has happened. And part of it is also just like, so acknowledging this is our intention for this time of year and being clear about it. And then saying like, then placing boundaries around that allows us to sit in that moment and be present. So for example, the decorating, waiting to decorate for Christmas, waiting to listen to Christmas music intentionally. Obviously you can't avoid it when you walk into a store or whatever, but saying, hey, we're not going to intentionally pursue decorations or Christmas music until after Thanksgiving allows us to give Thanksgiving and fall more broadly as a season. It's time for us to be present within it. And so those kind of boundaries really help us to do that and to remind us of that. Hey, take it slow. Don't rush too much to the next season. See what God has you. What can you learn from the leaves as they're falling, as the trees are shedding, letting go of things in order to retain energy and life through a season where there's like cold and not as much warmth that's ready. You know, I feel like there's a metaphor there for us to learn from.
Yeah.
What does it look like to go through a season, to let go of things in order to make it through a season of scarcity or of difficult times? So we've learned those lessons through being present. So those boundaries have really helped us to take it slow and to be in the moment. Yeah.
That's good. What about you, Esther?
Yeah, I would say like in my brain, I've always I've connected fall and like winter as more contemplative like times of the year for me. I think it is for a lot of people too, but it's made me really reflect, like what Zach's saying, the season change and just how you could see it physically. It makes you think about like, you know, what in my life has like not like died, but like, you know, kind of is coming to an end, and what is the new that is coming as well, you know, with like the snow represent, like for me, just since it's white, it's always kind of like represent life or like newness as well, or even like it's water in a different form, so like clean. But it's definitely like one of the things I always think about is like going on walks and just kind of contemplating, reflecting on like what are the things that I want to like do this coming year, or like what do I want to be doing right now, like who do I want to be spending time with, and just kind of my brain immediately connects it with just meeting with people one-on-one and just saying like, hey, how are you doing? You know, like spending time with them, being intentional with family. But oftentimes I think for my own sanity, I've had to separate myself. I'm a hardcore introvert. So I've definitely needed those walks to just be apart from family sometimes, because Christmas and holiday season, Thanksgiving could be a bit overwhelming at times as well, you know? So I think kind of gauging that. So I think that's how I've like, it's helped me be present as well, like Zach was saying.
That's good.
Yeah. You have any thoughts on that, Lauren?
I tend to be the person that is 5 steps ahead in my brain. And so I think the only thing that really helps me stay present in a fast-paced season, or plural seasons, is to take action, the small actions of reminding myself to kind of stay grounded and stay present. So for Thanksgiving, I'm already thinking like, oh, for Christmas, and what am I going to get people, and you know, when and where am I going to get it, and all these other things. And the only way for me to kind of remind myself to stay present is to do some sort of like thankfulness or gratitude action, or having a conversation with someone about gratitude, like something that would just kind of ground me. But I have to do something. I can't just in my mind say, all right, now we're going to be present, because my mind is already 10 steps ahead. So I think doing actions to kind of help myself stay grounded is really helpful during the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also having like traditions is a good, I mean, there are lots of traditions that happen during holiday season, but having like kind of thinking about them and having intentional traditions can be really helpful to make sure. What was that?
I got a question.
Okay.
What's some traditions like you guys have like around Thanksgiving time? I know one new one that I wanted to incorporate was running the turkey run that they do, turkey trot. Just kind of
that's
like,
the one where they would jump into the lake, or no?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to jump into the lake though.
You should do it. Jump into
One
the
of them
lake.
jumps into the lake.
I take cold showers every morning. That's about it. But yeah, that's one new one I think I wanted to start incorporating and actually kind of building community with that. Like with our young adults group, I wanted to ask some of the guys like, hey, like, do you guys want to go for this run? And through that, like, let's start bonding and building something together.
Yeah. I think I was thinking about the polar plunge. That's one where they jump in the lake. But yeah, that's great. So one kind of like fall Thanksgiving tradition that we have. I mean, a lot of people do this, but the like Friendsgiving kind of events that happen a lot this year. I'm a youth leader, so we do that with our youth group, but we also do it with our friends, and have a time to realize like, hey, this is our non-family who has become family. And these are the people that really we're most grateful for in this time and who have given us this life. Let's celebrate life with them. And that's been a really beautiful tradition, is just gathering with those intentional people you have in your life. Another thing is we do this every year with our youth group, but I think you could also do this. You don't have to be in a youth group or a young adults group to do this, but just going to like a nature preserve, and walking or running or riding a bike, you know, whatever fits your lifestyle. But just being in nature and seeing the way that nature is moving through the season. You know, how does this season affect nature and God's creation, and how does that you are encompassed within that? So, you know, we can get caught up in our concrete and our steel and our buildings. But getting out into nature, just walking through the woods, walking through a path, and just being in touch with what's going on around me. That's been a really beautiful tradition for us. One other thing I'll mention, and this is still like a fall kind of thing, but this goes into December as well, is my wife and I, we're starting these new things this year is our first time. We've kind of done something similar in the past years, but we are calling them nostalgia nights. Which is like maybe twice a month, maybe once a month, we just send out an open invitation to friends and say like, hey, if you're free, come and join us on this night. If not, it's okay. Either way, like she and I will do this. We're going to choose a movie from our childhood.
Oh, fun.
And we're just going to play the movie. We'll bring some snacks and we'll just like hang out together. You know, come dress up in your pajamas, like whatever. And we'll just be cozy.
Yeah.
And Victory, my wife and I have done that, something similar, just she and I in the past. But we're like, what if we bring our community into this? So we're really excited about that this year.
It's really funny you mentioned that, because literally a similar thought of like watching movies. Like I think growing up as a kid, and especially like during fall times or winter time when you're inside, I would watch like Spanish channel, but for some reason they would always be playing movies like from the 80s or 90s. And I was just like, dude, so now like I have this nostalgia about it and I associate it with the fall time. So I've been wanting to do something similar to that as well, but like in a communal sense of involving other people and like, hey, let's start a new tradition or something together.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool. You guys are doing that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Lauren, you got any traditions?
Well, we gather as a family, and yeah, holidays are interesting because you could have the same tradition, but when life changes, like your siblings, you know, get married. Like my brother's married. We love you, Katie. And but like that changes dynamics. Like your dynamic is always changing, and even as you get older and you're like young adults with your parents, it's very different experience. And so I'm looking forward to this year and the coming years sort of creating new traditions. But growing up, we always did some sort of shopping together. And we just eat good food. We watch nostalgic movies, you know, just kind of get some quality time together, I'd say would be a simple tradition for Thanksgiving. Christmas is a whole nother set of traditions, which we could be here forever talking about. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Eso, did you have any tradition? Oh, you shared the turkey run and the movie thing.
Turkey run, and then just kind of like doing a communal movie night together.
Gotcha. Okay, so you both mentioned family in different ways. You know, this time of the year can be really difficult because you are coming into contact a lot with family members. And that's one side of things. Another side is it can be a very lonely time for those who don't have people to gather with, and feel the absence there. So I think maybe we could go in two directions here. Maybe we treat both in turn. But what would you kind of say to those who are maybe not looking forward to spending so much time with family during the season and the difficulties that can produce? You know, sometimes conversations can come up around the dinner table, politics, religion, culture. It can get really heated, personal life decisions, or just energy, right? So you say you're an introvert. I also am heavily an introvert, and I'm affected by this. But what would you guys say to those who have a difficult time being with family or navigating maybe new dynamics? What kind of advice would you give them?
I think there's two things that my brain kind of thought of. One is when you have difficult family or when you don't have family and you just find the holidays difficult because you don't have anyone to spend it with. To that one, I was thinking the other day how it's important to not necessarily like wait around for all these invites to flood in, and then when they don't, you're extremely disappointed. But finding, you know, if you love someone and you consider them your friend, ask them, is it okay if I like come over? Is it okay if I join? Could we have a meal together? Could we do a movie night? Just being proactive and people do love you. And so asking to, you know, participate in a holiday with your friends that you love and they love you. I think that's the best thing to do. For those that have family and they struggle to be with their family, whether that be because they're an introvert or simply because of value differences, belief differences. I know a lot of people who struggle to meet with their family during the holidays because they aren't believers, and so it's really difficult for them to come together and, you know, celebrate the meaning of the holiday, whether it be Thanksgiving and gratitude or it's Christmas and we celebrate Jesus. And his gift of coming to the earth. I think it's hard for me to have experience necessarily in that area. I think no matter what, when you're an adult and you gather as a family, you're going to have moments. You disagree, someone says something and it just rubs you the wrong way. You have like a little argument in the kitchen while you're trying to, you burn yourself trying to get this turkey out, like whatever it is. I think it's just a matter of taking care of your heart in those moments, taking a few moments, like step outside, go to the restroom, like just do some breathing exercises and remember that you have maybe what other people would really wish they did have. And so it's important just to remind yourself of the beauty that's in front of you, even if it's really difficult, and valuing what you have and remembering that other people would, pay to have what you have. And I think there's different variables, but that's probably just the thoughts off the top of my head.
That's really good. I think I definitely want to echo like one of the things you said is like just simply ask or reach out. And this is coming from somebody who has struggled very much so to like ask people like, because I think sometimes we can feel, obviously it's a lie, right? We feel inferior or we feel like we're not worthy or just kind of we don't value ourselves as much as we should. And just thinking like, man, maybe I'm an inconvenience or something. But it's like, no, like you are loved. You do belong, and knowing that truth, but also too knowing that like, hey, like don't just like stay there stuck in like kind of your pity or like your emotions, but it's like be proactive and definitely step out and just ask because you do belong to like a family and you are loved. I know it's been my like what I've had to do in different stuff. Like I know I appreciate it when Lauren's family has invited me over like last year for Thanksgiving, and then I'll go see my family afterwards, but still it's like knowing that I belong to like a tribe of people and that I have people who care about me makes all the difference. And I loved it, because like I feel like I'm a lot closer with you guys sometimes than I am with my actual family. So it makes a world of a difference. But I think it's definitely a common thing that people struggle with, especially like when they feel lonely or just kind of like, I think we can all relate when we loop the lies in our head of like, I don't belong, or like kind of like I'm stuck here. What am I going to do? But it's like, take that first step that's uncomfortable and like fight against your feelings, and then you're going to see the fruit of it afterwards. And I think the second thing that comes to mind is pacing yourself more so, like especially if like you're an extrovert and you like being around people, but then you find yourself sometimes maybe just being really worn out because it's a lot of extrovertedness, or just if you just find yourself tired in general, is like taking those moments to be by yourself, or even being with people that don't require like a lot of, for lack of better words, maintenance. You can just be with, like you don't have to entertain them, you don't have to worry about what they're thinking, but simply we can just sit down and not talk. We can sit down and just watch a movie together, or just simply go on a walk, and there doesn't have to be any sort of expectation or like expectation to come out of this interaction, but we could just simply enjoy each other's company, and nothing huge has to happen. So I think that's been huge for me. And those walks, man, I'm telling you, I love my walks. These walks have always been really good for me. So I think that's how I've managed to gauge like these holiday seasons for myself.
Yeah, that's good. I resonate with that a lot. Finding those pockets of time. I think this is important, even if you are an extrovert and enjoy the fast pace of the season. Is it's still important to find time to step aside, to rest, to recharge, to reflect, and sometimes it means, I remember one time, I have a really good relationship with my wife's family, and we've been spending Christmas with them. But I get really tired really quickly, and it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with just the way I am built. And so I will, there are times I'll just go into Victory's in my like guest bedroom and just put headphones on and listen through a whole album. And just sit and just like think through it. Or I'll go into the other room and I'll read, or I'll watch a movie, or I'll go on a walk. And those moments have brought me such life in a time where it's been like, oh man, really, really difficult to keep up with everyone else. But it's important. And there are many things that happen during the holiday season. It's really fast paced. There's lots of stuff going on. And so I think it's really important to stay in touch with yourself and to keep taking kind of inventory of like, what am I feeling? What is happening to me? What is happening in me? What is happening around me? And how is that affecting me? What is God trying to kind of like teach me in this season? Or what is he inviting me to in this season? And just being self-aware. Self-awareness doesn't always come naturally to people, but it's something you can increase in your ability as if you sit down and ask these questions. I'm feeling this strong emotion. What emotion is that? And why am I feeling this way? And what does that emotion have to tell me about what's going on in my heart? I heard something recently. I'm not gonna remember exactly. It was quoted in a really like quotable way. I'm not gonna remember exactly the wording, but basically he was talking about how emotions don't always tell you the truth about the world, about what's going on around you, right? Sometimes your emotions can, you can interpret things wrongly and things like that, but your emotions always tell you true things about what's going on inside of you. And just being aware of that is really important during the holiday season, because holidays are difficult, as well as happy. And, Christmas, the jingle is, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I often wonder if that's true. But it's definitely true that there's a whole mixture of things. So just keeping a pulse on yourself and asking yourself, what am I feeling? What is that telling me about myself? And how's this affecting me is really good. And, we did an episode about grief recently. You could go back in the list and listen to that. But I think being aware of the grief that comes in during Christmas and these holidays is really important. During these times, we can feel a glaring absence of a certain person or a certain relationship, or you can, you're reminded of that argument you had and how you're still not on speaking terms with your brother or sister. And it's important to take the time to grieve those things. So definitely just be aware of that and take time for that, and realize in the end that Christmas, we focus on these happy things. We focus on the gifts giving and all this stuff. But if you read in Scripture, the story of Christmas, the story of Christ's birth, God becoming human and entering into this world that is in such a mess, it's all about God entering into the loneliness of human existence. It's all about God entering into suffering and darkness and saying, hey, a light has been born, and it's going to guide you through the darkness, but it's going to be through the darkness. It's not necessarily going to take you out of it.
Yeah.
And so that means that sadness, that means grief, that means loneliness, that means fear, that means realizing that the world is messed up is actually right at the heart of the holiday and the reason we celebrate, because in the heart of those things, Jesus has entered and has come to say, hey, this is not all that there is. And I think staying close to the heart of that, realizing the light has come into the world, kind of gives us the ability to keep moving through the happy and the hard times of holiday season.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. One thought, just as you were saying that, I just kind of picture like the Christmas season to be full of facades in our culture. Like we're always like smoke and mirrors, like you go after the shopping, you go after trying to get that good thing, it never satisfies. You go after the relationship, never satisfies. You go after that good family meal, doesn't really satisfy, And I think that what you just said is so spot on, like recognizing and bringing yourself to the very truth of what Christmas is and what it's about, the holidays and why we celebrate. Like celebration is so beautiful and it's so powerful. It's such a beautiful thing to do as human beings. And if we remember like the actual reason of Christmas and the power of what Jesus did, it's like all of a sudden you're like, that argument doesn't really matter. Like that new PS3, whatever, doesn't really matter. Those things that I was chasing or whatever, like those don't really matter. And the beauty and the actual joy, like the essence of joy comes through remembering what Christmas is actually about and the real reason as to why we celebrate this time. I think it's, I don't know. I feel pumped up right now. I'm like, man, Christmas, it like Jesus literally came to, I mean, that was just like, that's just so beautiful what Jesus did. And like, I have hope now, and that's what I'm celebrating. is that I can have hope. I can have an intimate relationship with Jesus. And I think, just the world just kind of smoke and mirrors everything with Christmas. And it's like, man, we just need to remember why we're celebrating what we're celebrating. Why is this a national massive holiday? Like, we can't steer far from what the real reason of the season, the pure joy of the season is. So anyway, it's a little blurb, but
no, that's
just got a little passionate for a second,
No, that's awesome. I wanted to go back a little bit to what Zach was saying. I don't know if you guys have heard of John Mark McMillan. There's a song that I've been listening to. It's like been on repeat. It's called, I think, The Roads, Rocks, and the Weeds. It's talking about nature, but it talks about how there's a line in there. It says, I don't have answers for heartaches and cancers, but I have a savior who suffers them with me.
Yeah.
And I think too, it really speaks to what you're saying, right? How like God has entered into this world, and he's not just a God who's abstract or impersonal, but Jesus is a God who came, suffered as we did, became human, the beauty of that, but also he is one who suffered, so that if we are suffering, he's one who understands as well and isn't foreign or away from it, but he's right there in it with you. And in the midst of like the hard times, he can be your refuge and your peace. And I think that's been a beauty for me in like the holiday seasons, but just kind of, I guess, an encouragement to people out there as well in this season, and relating to what Zach was saying. But definitely I think it alludes to what you were saying, Lauren, right? That like Christ has come, and now that is our hope. And that's why we should be having Thanksgiving and celebrating Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. To be cheesy, it's like we get caught up in all of the like presents and gift giving, but like the reason for the season, right? We're going to go real cheesy here. We're just going to lean into it. The reason for the season is
Hallmark, hire us.
ready? Is God's presence for you, which is his presence.
I wish there was a drum. Hold up.
But honestly, but that's like so good though. Like, no, seriously, like say that again. It's actually so good.
Yeah. What really matters, the reason for the season is God's presence to you, which is God's presence for you. With you. No, God's presence with you.
With you, yeah.
God's presence with you is God's gift for you. And what an amazing, beautiful, crazy thing that is the case. And I just want to give a recommendation. New Life, we're a non-denominational church, which we can get out to that another time. But that means we have all kinds of kind of traditions. There are other church traditions that have beautiful things that they do that I think we can kind of borrow and lean on at times. And one of those things is Advent. Advent, which is the season of Christmas. It's usually 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. And each week kind of focuses on a different aspect of the story of Christmas, or on a different kind of theme. Like typically it's like hope, love, peace, and joy, or things like that. Hope, peace, joy, and love. I think they can be switched around. But each week it kind of focuses on a different aspect of what God has brought into the world through his son. Advent means the arrival or the coming of someone. And Advent celebrates and observes the arrival of Jesus into our pain, into our world. And so I would recommend like maybe looking into that and thinking about how can you be intentional about, number one, being in God's presence, staying connected to the heart of this season, and what God wants to show you and teach you through these weekly rhythms of hope, joy, peace, love, whatever. But also to let that lead you into your own presence, your own, like we were talking about earlier, your own ability to be present with the people around you. God has become present with you, has come near to you so that he can give you new life. But then he calls us to turn to the people around us, to be present with them and to show them the love that they may not be seeing from other people in this season. You may not be the person who's lonely in this season. You may have a friend that you haven't thought much about who will be battling loneliness. How can you be present with them? And realizing that even if you are there in your loneliness, that God sits with you, and you're not fully alone. So the reason for the season is God's presence for you and with you.
Nice. Good.
Any last thoughts? Any last words for the holiday season?
I think that last little bit just summed it up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a couple more. I think an episode or two coming out through the rest of the year, and then we'll see you in the new year with who knows what's going to happen in that whole year.
2024.
2024. So please share this podcast with people that you think will enjoy it. Leave us a review on the podcast websites, whatever it is, and leave some comments. We would love to hear from you and interact with you. How do you celebrate holidays? How do you stay sane and navigate through and stay connected to the Lord? And is there anything you'd like us to talk about and interact with you about? So yeah, for now, stay close to the presence of God in this season and don't let the culture take you away from it. So yeah, we'll see you next time. Keep on sipping.